In a desert, a lone man is seen standing in a sandfield. At this moment, in front of him stood a giant scorpion creature with red eyes and too many teeth. The ugly beast lunged at the man with evil intentions, but the man didn't seem threatened at all. He jumped over its tail and ran, along it, slashing at it with his sword. When he slashed the monster known as the Scorpion King, he was knocked down by the attack of our main character, Kang Hyun-woo. Soon after, we see Hyun-woo walking away from the battle. He had won a great victory. He was very bored and wondered who he would hunt next. At this time, Hyun-woo was in a world where there was a game, known as the Arena. He is the #1 ranked player in this game. He uses the name Meligod. He set countless records. But on this day, he decided that he would stop and focus on the real world. Instead, after permanently withdrawing from the game, his best friend Young Chan was flabbergasted. How dare he? This friend stopped being a nerd and got a life. Hyun-woo calmly explains that he can't just play games forever. Young Chan wouldn't stop bothering him, though said that he could at least sell all his items for cash instead of just wiping out all the items he had gotten while playing arena games, because that was never a way to make money for Hyun-woo. But for Kang Hyun-woo, it was just something he did for fun. He will not regret deleting it because of his account, even though that would just throw away thousands of dollars like an idiot. He waved at Young Chan. It was time for him to serve in the military for a while and then inherit his father's construction business. Once he came out, 2 years had passed, and things don't go as planned. Hyun-woo was working at a convenience store earning only about $9 an hour. Who could have guessed that the successor to a rags-to-riches construction company could fall so low? During his last 2 years of military service, Hyun-woo did not think that the family would go bankrupt. He thought this was a dream, but in reality, his father's construction company went bankrupt because his father fell seriously ill and his family was torn apart by huge debts. Medical bills are no joke. Kang Hyun-woo spends most of his money to help and support his struggling family. Hyun-woo is forced to eat expired store food just to survive. He wondered how much longer he had to go to be able to live like this. Looking down at his phone, he received the message again from his old friend Young Chan, whom he had been avoiding for the past few years. Hyun-woo was too embarrassed and uncomfortable to even reply to her message. Despite not getting a reply, Young Chan still messaged Hyun-woo regularly to check on him. He is a true friend. In the message, Young Chan also asked Hyun-woo, "Would you consider returning to the arena?" And our protagonist thinks that it's not a bad idea. The arena is profitable. These days, streamers and pro players are easily making a lot of money, and Hyun-woo was the #1 ranked player in the past. And if he could get it back, then he might be able to accumulate some money. That is a good idea. That he even started sniffing his fingers for some reason. His eyes lit up with hope. He quickly went to the mall to buy the game console he needed to play, known as Cube Arena. His facial expression changed when he realized the cost was 3 times his current monthly salary. Oh well, his father's medical bills can wait, because now is the time to play. While he was looking at the console, he was approached by a blonde guy and a girl. Hyun-woo didn't know who this man was until he reminded him. His name is Hanbek. Could he be the son of his father's old business partner? Hyun-woo's father is bedridden and his family is doing very bad things, but his old business partner seems to be doing well for himself. He walks into the mall passing Hyun-woo with the girl. While passing by, he makes a snide comment about our protagonist's financial situation. Hyun-woo asks back how this kid knows anything about his family's money problems. With an evil look on his face, Hanbek stated that everything that had happened to Hyun-woo's family was all Hanbek's father's work. Their 2 fathers were business partners. Hanbek's father stabbed Hyun-woo's father in the back after working together for decades. The little punk dug the knife in and deeper, tells Hyun-woo that he has to go and take care of his father while he is on his deathbed, because he may not be around for long. He was in shock, and the security who rushed to security struggled to restrain Hyun-woo as he shouted in anger. The reason his father was bedridden and the reason why his life was in chaos was all the work of the Hanbek family. He was the one screaming at the top of his lungs. He says that he will kill Hanbek no matter what. However, it was this action that led to his arrest. He didn't leave the police station until later that evening. The rain falling on the floor was an accurate metaphor for how he felt at the moment. It wasn't just Hyun-woo and his family who were betrayed, but criminals dared to brag about it. Driven by anger and hatred, he swore to himself that he would take revenge. Those feelings quickly turned to sadness and despair. Even without money, he was too helpless now to think about something like revenge. A news production caught his attention, discussing an arena performer earning a salary of $500,000, and how the game has had a tremendous impact on the economy. Hyun-woo is truly desperate, and this could be his only chance at a good life. Finally, he got up the courage to call his old friend. Young-chan, who answered almost immediately, was like a real big brother. After the young man asked why he called, Hyun-woo says that he needs help. He finally returned to the arena after many years. He wants his title as the #1 player back. All hell broke loose at the arena headquarters when they noticed someone had registered with old user information. Meligod. An employee communicates with the in-game AI known as Owl and asks how the new player is doing. Al is the game character responsible for guiding the player through the arena tutorial. She kept an eye on Hyun-woo, with shocked because he had set a new record in the force application test. Hyun-woo stands with his fists clenched, demanding to be taken to the next test. He wasn't here to waste. If the arena was the only way for him to change his situation, so let it be. Hyun-woo will become a ranker once again. The only reason he was able to play in the arena was thanks to his good friend who had allowed him to use the arena cube, because Hyun-woo couldn't afford it himself. He was very thankful to his friend for helping him. He would pay it back later. Tutorial swung his weapon, and in anticipation, decided to give Hyun-woo a level 10 test, according to his registration. Hyun-woo took a deep breath, preparing himself because it had been a long time since he fought in the arena. His opponent stood before him. It was a level 10 dark elf warrior standing holding 2 weapons. Meanwhile, Hyun-woo only ranked first, so he had to fight. With this fight, Hyun-woo seems pretty cool about things. Even though he closed his eyes and took a deep breath, the dark elf took this opportunity to pounce on him, thinking it was a mistake for him to close his eyes. Elf didn't know he was dealing with the famous Meligod. Hyun-woo blocked the attack as if on autopilot, and the duel began. The reason Hyun-woo was able to reach first place previously was that no one could match his level of control when fighting fairies. Desperation for his parents, both his sick father and his mother who was constantly by his side, and ultimately, he felt a strong desire for revenge against Hanbek. He will become a top-ranked arena player with a speed that no one can even imagine. The employees at the arena headquarters who had been watching him jumped in shock that a level 1 character that had just been created was able to defeat a level 10 dark elf warrior. This confirmed his belief that Meligod had truly returned. I will congratulate our protagonist. The tutorial ends here, and he can now get into the real game. The village chief of a place called Aslan gave him an item as a reward for completing the tutorial. He gives Hyun-woo a ring containing a giant spirit that increases his strength. At times, the sparkling ring on her finger was almost as bright as her smile. He managed to obtain a unique item this early. He's off to a good start. Hyun-woo received an in-game message from Young-chan, who had offered to take him to some high-ranking dungeons to speed up his leveling. Hyun-woo rejected his offer for now because there was a special item he wanted to make. Young-chan first smiled for himself, then he wondered what, but here on Earth, his friend was probably planning to do this. At the start of the game in the past, there was an item that all hardcore arena players used called Experience Potion. It was a famous item that increased XP income by 20% for 4 hours. This item was extremely valuable and sold for 3,000 gold each. But one day the supplier disappeared and the item finally faded from people's memories. That's because the supplier is Hyun-woo. He was still the only one who knew how to make experience potions, so if he sold it at auction, he could name whatever price he wanted. He was currently trying to gather ingredients to make one of these potions. But Hyun-woo was struggling with the last item. He debated whether he should go to the dungeon to get it or not. When he tried to enter the dungeon, he was stopped by a purple-haired man who was a member of the Black Skull Fellowship. He said that this dungeon belonged to his alliance. so Hyun-woo couldn't enter this place. This was the only place Hyun-woo could get the materials he needed. So he pushed past the man who was determined to go and get the item he needed. However, the purple-haired man was seen drawing his sword and raising it towards Hyun-woo's neck. He called him a novice, until he told him to leave the dungeon. But since his whole life depended on this game, and he didn't want to waste a single second, he decided to make a bet with the man. They will both fight, and whoever loses will have to delete their entire character and start over. This man was stunned by how a new player could be so arrogant and confident. He accepted the challenge, thinking it would be an easy fight. Hyun-woo tells the man to say a final goodbye to his character. As he took out a sword from his inventory, it didn't take long for the duel to begin. Both players attack each other with swords in their hands. Our protagonist seems very calm when looking at the man's face, and he wondered where a noob could get such agility and speed. Hyun-woo blocked his attacks with ease, which made him question his level. The man was much taller than him. The purple-haired man started to think that he might have a unique item. He seemed too relaxed earlier to be a beginner. He finally managed to attack him, but Hyun-woo stood there unfazed by the attack that hit his shoulder. When Hyun-woo was hit by an attack, the youth with purple hair looked thoughtful as it seemed unaffected. Hyun-woo must have blocked his pain to not feel such an attack. This fight was easier than Hyun-woo expected, and he slashed his weapon at the purple-haired man who was ready to end everything immediately. How could he be defeated by a noob like this? Who exactly is this man? And why is he so strong? Meanwhile, the man was distracted by confused thoughts. Hyun-woo came in for an attack that destroyed him. He needed to block this much. To his surprise, he stood motionless and Hyun-woo's attack landed without a problem. Because he blocked out the pain, he didn't know the state of his own body. He was too hurt and exhausted to even move to stretch his arms upwards. Hyun-woo checked all the new items he had won from this duel, and prepared to enter the dungeon to get the materials he needed. After getting the last ingredient, he headed to the workshop. Hyun-woo saw a large blue capsule. This thing automatically creates items for players, but it can't keep up with skill. He can only use it once a month. Hyun-woo decided to make an experience potion and give players a 20% increase for 4 hours. Next, he held it up in the air and admired the fruitiness of its taste. Now it's time for him to go and earn money. On this day, the XP potion entered the arena shop for the first time. For a long time, everyone was shocked to see it, and just one rarity of the item caused players from all over to go to the shops and bid for this potion. This resulted in the price of potions increasing exponentially during these 6 months. And the highest price it was sold for was 3,000, but it was finally sold for 5,000 gold. This time, walking on the street, Hyun-woo thought to himself, 1 gold is about $1. With 5,000 gold, he could pay his father's hospital bills and his living expenses. And then he still had around 2,000 gold left. No matter what path he takes, whether it is a streamer or a pro gamer, he needed to improve his ranking and combat strength. He also needed better equipment. Using his remaining $2,000 in gold effectively, he decided to get the most practical equipment rather than the best-looking one. He bought himself a sword and some armor. They are all fairly rare items with good stats. The village chief looked up and was shocked to see that Hyun-woo had changed a lot since he last saw him a while ago. He looks very different, from people on the street wondering if he joined a cult or something to progress that fast, even though the gear stats look ridiculous. The yellow sword, green shirt, and red trousers man is walking traffic light. Slightly embarrassed by his appearance, Hyun-woo's face changed the same color as his trousers. He asked Dell to give him the quest of a pack of wolves with red eyes, white fur, and sharp fangs. These monsters look scary. But Hyun-woo didn't waste time working. With his stats increasing, he felt much lighter on his feet. Expensive items are worth it. The search is complete. Soon after killing 15 wolves, he stopped worrying about his appearance. Because the equipment is very effective. He's not in this game to have fun. Every minute and every second of his time should be spent making money. The goal is to reach level 10 today, so he headed to the Goblin Dungeon. Many other people have the same idea. And in crowded places, a strong-looking man was recruiting melee players for his dungeon party. and Hyun Woo approached him, asked if he could join. At first, he said yes, but then he started scratching his chin and had second thoughts. He told Hyun Woo that his party was advanced, and Hyun Woo had to go and join the beginner's party instead, because he is of low rank. Clenching his fist, he walked away cursing the player. Even without a high level, he can deal with enemies like goblins easily. A blonde woman approached him and asked if he had any experience with goblin dungeons. This was the party's first time in the dungeon, so she looked for someone with experience. She asked if he wanted to join her party, and Hyun Woo accepted it, saying he would be happy to take him through the dungeon like the rest of the party. Looking at our protagonist with an expression of disappointment and disgust, the beautiful girl suggested that everyone introduce themselves. She is a level 20 priestess named Choi Somi. Yang lied through her teeth and told the party that he was level 20. Luckily, her stats were hidden, so they didn't know. Starting from the left, the other players introduced themselves. Their levels are all in the 20s, and they are different. The archer and mage warrior classes noticed that Hyun Woo didn't have any party resistance items, asking if he would be okay in this basement. And Hyun Woo convinced them he has good mechanics, so he will be able to face it alone even without having defensive items. They were standing at the entrance to the dungeon, a dark and gloomy cave inside its ugly-looking goblins with weapons and shields ready to attack. Soon, soldier Jin Woo stood at the front of the group, telling his members to get ready, holding a hollow tube to their mouth. The goblins started shooting things at the party. Jin Woo raised his shield to block these attacks. He shouted at his team to protect themselves. They followed his orders. Mage Jia prepares his magic, and Chialman Archer pulls back his arrow ready to shoot magic lighting up the goblins. It's like the 4th of July, and arrows rain down on them like snow. Looking up, Hyun Woo was impressed. Despite being nervous about the dungeon, his party defended well. They are a good team. It's like they don't even need him as a member. Everyone plays their role. So after hunting goblins for over an hour, things calmed down for a bit, and the group took a quick breath. The party commented on Hyun Woo's skills, says he's pretty good out there, and that he used some extraordinary items. Somi suggests that they take a good rest. They needed to make sure they were ready to challenge the hobgoblin later as they planned. Hyun Woo was surprised to hear their concerns, and asks if they've ever fought a hobgoblin boss before. Jin Woo was the only one with experience, and the others were inexperienced. He is quite a difficult boss for players in the low 20s. It's also been a long time since Hyun Woo defeated one. Also, the party started discussing strategy. The party looks at Cheol Min. The young archer jokingly asked him not to shoot them. Behind him answered that. He didn't make a mistake like that again. While smiling awkwardly, they moved through the dungeon until they reached the boss room. The hobgoblin sat on his throne with his lower-ranking minions standing between him and the entrance. The team moves forward. Somi gives buffs to her party. He, Jinwoo, Cheolmin, and Jia used their long-range attacks. Meanwhile, Hyun Woo and Jinwoo led the attack on the front lines. The goblins attack and the men do their best to defend themselves in close combat. With fans from Somi, it's not that difficult. The hobgoblin raised its hand and something seemed to radiate from it. Hyun Woo shouted at Jinwoo, telling him to dodge the incoming attack. But Jinwoo didn't react. At the moment, he was hit by the boss's dark ball attack, which sent him flying backwards into a nearby wall. It would be troublesome if this enemy used the black ball attack again. So Hyun Woo needed to attack him. Before doing it again, he asked his team for support. However, the team was shocked by what happened to Jin Woo, and stood there watching Hyun Woo cut down the goblins. Previous low ranking. He wondered what his party was doing and why they were just watching. Hobgoblin began to prepare another magic attack on his hand, and it seemed like Hyun Woo wouldn't make it in time. As he attacked, an arrow came flying out of nowhere and almost hit him. Hyun Woo blocked the arrow and it bounced off his sword, striking the boss in the eye, while letting out a howling scream in his face. Meanwhile, the hobgoblin is distracted by pain. Hyun Woo took the opportunity to cut off his arm. Losing an arm and an eye was truly a painful thing. This guy, Hyun Woo called out to his teammates once again for help. This time they listened and hit the boss with magic attacks, and the arrow attack that defeated him. The party stood in front of Hyun Woo with smiles on their faces. because he is the one who does all the work. Hyunwoo looked at the items dropped by the boss and wondered if he should take them all for himself. At the party, everyone had friendly faces and looked kind, but Hyunwoo was worried they would kill him if he was too greedy. He decided to just take one random pet egg item and leave the rest for his party. With important things to do, Hyunwoo walked away and said goodbye to the party members. He also asked if she wanted to do this again sometime. But Hyunwoo just hurried away. He was worried about the potential traitor and decided that he could not rest easy. After leaving the dungeon, he saw that he successfully achieved his goal of reaching level 10, and now he could fight. Finally, he got a class upgrade. He stood in front of a large tower with his hands on his hips. CP 5. This is a class tower better called a progress tower. Each floor represents a different class that you can climb. Inside, like a department store, it is a must. If a player who managed to reach level 10, Hyunwoo held the pet egg he had just received in his hand, it could drop a random pet, which could be anything from a rabbit to a dragon that he needed. Wait an hour for the eggs to hatch. He decided that with this free time, he would get himself a new class. He looked up at the tower and thought hard about what he would choose inside the tower. He entered the warrior class floor and was approached by the warrior manager named Khan. Hyunwoo is here to be a warrior, and the Khan is happy to hear that. Said it was a wise choice. The warrior class is different from the other bad classes on the lower floors. Khan will decide whether or not Hyunwoo is worthy to be a warrior with one fight, and they both prepare their weapons. And the Khan says he'll let Hyunwoo make the first move to be fair, after informing. Hyunwoo came to him. Our protagonist doesn't resist and does as he says. The attack comes strong, and Khan blocked it. He thought to himself that the attack was strong, and Hyunwoo was familiar with swords. He is different from other players who come to his floor and try to be a warrior. He was more than qualified to join her class. The attacks kept coming and Khan kept blocking them. Smiling at our protagonist's impressive strength, he's still a noob who hasn't gotten a proper class yet. And when Khan attacked back, it caught Hyunwoo off guard and knocked him to the ground. While good, he lacks the skills to beat someone like Khan. When Khan made his second attack, Hyunwoo blocked it with his foot, and then countered his attack immediately. At the same time, there was a natural flow to Hyunwoo's movements that didn't follow traditional swordplay. Hyunwoo came in for another attack, while the warrior class manager wondered if this was what was called a natural talent. When Hyunwoo was about to land, he attacked the manager, shouting to stop. Says he is more than qualified to be a warrior. He admitted that Hyunwoo was very skilled, and he permitted him to join the warrior class. Joining this new class gave him new skills all related to close combat and using his sword. Before the two parts, Khan threw a coin at Hyunwoo, telling him that once he is confident in his powers, we should go and find the owner of the coin. The coin is a new quest to meet a knight known as LeBron. When he is ready, the reward for the quest is something called a LeBron skill. LeBron is someone who leads troops in the arena and is the strongest knight in his kingdom. A smile appeared on Hyunwoo's face. When he realized by completing this quest, he would receive the skills of the strongest knight in the empire. Not wanting to waste any more time, he exited the tower wondering why he was given this hidden quest. But don't complain that the quest is E rank. So he had to reach around level 50 before he could go and do it. And now an hour has passed and his random pet egg is about to hatch. Holding it in his hands, he wondered what he would get. He was very lucky today, so it might turn out to be something good. Part of him wanted a dragon, but another part of him knew it would be a lot to care for. He almost died of anticipation. The egg finally hatched, and a cute little bear emerged. Hyunwoo was speechless when he saw his new pet. The bear can even talk, which makes our protagonist even more amazed. A talking pet was something he had never heard of, so it's unique. He began to wonder if he could earn money by making her do things. To her surprise, the bear jumped on her shoulders and started pulling her hair, demand that he move forward. Unhappy about being bossed around by some little bear, Hyunwoo grabbed him. He threw his new pet away in anger, saying that it needs to be taught a lesson. Bear is not happy. saying how brave Hyunwoo was to do this. He then insults our protagonist by saying that he never got any girl. He quit the game, leaving her alone. After he just hatched a few minutes ago, his master returned to the real world. Hyunwoo came out of the cube arena. He took a deep breath. He was there for a long time. Today, young Chan enters the room and asks our protagonist what he has achieved today. His friend was surprised to hear he already had a class and a pet. He said that with those things he had got it, then he will start preparing for his streamer debut. A blank expression appeared on Hyunwoo's face. When he realized his friend was right, he started to consider it. Jobs as a streamer pay pretty well these days. Young Chan tells Hyunwoo that there is something he needs him to do. He wants our protagonist to record the game. Every time he plays that way, he can use the clips to create promotional videos to post in the world arena. Hyunwoo smiled awkwardly. While it sounds fun, being a streamer is easier said than done, but Yongchan insisted. He will help and offer to be her manager. If a former #1 player starts streaming, people will want to watch. A hopeful smile appeared on Hyunwoo's face. He promised that he would try to live up to his friend's high expectations. Sometime later, back in the game, he found a group of dark elves in the dark forest region, looking down at Tangy, because this was their first battle together. He expected a lot from his new pet looking down at his sword. Hyunwoo had a shocked face. When it started to glow green, it was revealed that Tangy had put a buff on him known as Bear Spirit, which increased his strength and Hyunwoo's constitution. Looking back at his new pet, he thought the bear was a tank pet, and he felt confused to know that it was a buff pet. The dark elves tried to attack him while he was distracted, but of course it didn't work, and he ended their subscription thinking that his new pet could increase his strength constitution and defense stats, as well as give him a continuous recovery buff. He's quite useful. Hyunwoo continued to deal with more dark elves. A dark figure is seen hiding in the trees spying on our protagonist. It was revealed that there was a group of people there looking for their next victim. The group looked at Hyunwoo and discussed his equipment, said it was expensive and discussed how they would steal it. One of the parties commented that our protagonist seemed like he was quite good at fighting, so they have to be careful. The rest of the party thought that he was an idiot. There was no way he was more than level 20, and he was outnumbered. They are experienced thieves who will make quick work of them. Our protagonist, Hyunwoo, becomes tired after fighting all the dark elves and wipes his forehead. He recorded the fight. As he said, he would defeat a dark elf, and it wouldn't be that impressive. His pet bear commented Hyunwoo. In frustration, he took it out of Tangy's head and started punishing her again. As the evil party approached, they put on friendly faces and asked Hyunwoo if he was alone, and if so, would he like to join their party? It was nice for them to see other players here in the jungle. They seemed like an experienced party, so he wondered why they even wanted him to join. Furthermore, it seemed like they were all wearing level 20 equipment, and one of them even had a sword that had to be at least level 40. The fact that they were hiding their levels and approaching our protagonist meant they were players who were killing other players. Hyunwoo smiled because this might be an opportunity for him. Hyunwoo accepted their invitation to join their party, and they started to introduce themselves without wanting to tell them his real name. Hyunwoo introduces himself as Young Chan and act friendly towards criminals. They are approached by more elves and continue to work as a party to defeat them, but Hyunwoo only used his party as a shield. The human who had been hiding behind them quietly then came out, each time and again to unleashes a series of attacks, only to then return to hiding behind his party members. The party members were strong, and this made monster hunting easy. His skill proficiency increased, leaps and bounds. An hour later, the party started to get frustrated. All Hyunwoo does is hide behind them, and they realize he's just using them. Even when they try to sneak attack our protagonist, he just dodged it easily. Their side spoke privately. Wonder how long they have to continue this act before they can do so to rob Hyunwoo. Tangy overhears them talking about how they would kill Hyunwoo just for his expensive items. Tangy told everything to his master, how they planned to stab him in the back when they fought the boss of them, and the task is complete. so he planned to stab them in the back first. By recording such actions, it could earn him a lot of views, because players who kill other players are generally not very popular. His expression became evil. The party members came out of their private discussion and apologized